The perfect marriage, a gateway to the initiation with the secret to wake the Kundalini and get powers hidden, 2nd edition. 1950 Preface. We are in the era of idolatry of the golden calf. How much do you have? The veils, everything surface, after having brightness, has great value. Man brightness and gives it the value it owns in money to spend largesse. It is called the great Lord who provides all that nothing needs or have to correspond with the entertainment. Fashion makes the gentleman and the lady what gifts. For what virtues? Socially it has no value. The distinction man gives the gold produced and accumulated. Refined taste yea despises the humble and mortifies the orphan of the base metal. Knowledge is measured by outdated preconceptions and called criterion is no more than an insubstantial store-old theories that the holder by dint to be linking repeating appropriates and defends the cruelest stubbornness, and if what goes well does go against your judgment, it is the ballast that possess what goes back to the steep peaks of the intellect. We already seem to see intellectuals alarmed to read so many things for them inexplicable. Tilde and donos with the most derogatory adjectives and sometimes other caliber, looking like mice library authors who have written something here against what they assert to be our side review and refute the same book in hand. Our audacity. To you brothers, one intellectuals tell them that the intellect and went out of fashion. Now comes Aquarius, the age of the untuition, therefore have to earn their daily bread by the sweat of his brow. Already tested ad nauseum, that only confuses the intellect holder and leads to the rarest extravagances, to the worst vices, and to the lowest moral degradation, and to reach so steep summits is not required reading and rereading. Therefore, any usurer who earned good money can do same. Booze, pleasures, brothels, orgies, and fornication. In the scent thieves' phrases, we find also sea lizards and bugs of luncheria and cafetines, ready to deride our work, doing outrageous and malicious assumptions, but we also care about the reason of the unreasonableness of these lizards. We must do something for the poor orphan. Humanity mourner will receive their reward. Everyone who cares for her heart, well worth mortification involved in this interest. Large profits, pain, pleasure, and wear are removed. Desolation. They can enlist the columns of their newspapers to flatter the stupidity of parasites, social, and increase their proselytes. Ridicule does not embarrass us. We know they do, because speak a language they do not understand. Not even interested to understand is that they need in their toehold awareness to compare and deduce, and unable to present reasons substantial and own to justify the attack. Make a fool who has the courage face a vicious and disoriented civilization. Because we are going against their most cherished ideals, not because we settled the concupiscent criterion of civilized 20th century led today more refined degradation. Nor are we interested in contempt of university horses with accommodative no and ruminate productive only. Know this book our grammatical and spelling licenses, and not they seek the deep sense no. That contains neither the truths that reveals precisely by the impasse that cause our licenses enforce the important word it is to tell the truth. Teach and guide, but sadly our lawyers measure knowledge, the writer not teach his word, but by the way you type the word. Alland gives his word has meaning also, that the latter is a motif that changes over time as the whim of the couturier of the word, so the misspellings let them as grass intellectuals. The world does not want, but to the world, to the mundane, like their materialistic, and when the man turns away from him and follow the path of the spirit, only hatred, resentment, and contempt among crop which they were before his. The world does not want dealings with those who turn away from it, so it is at that the true spiritualists treat as crazy dreamers and fools, and Christ killed him with humiliation. Christ did not die on gold crosses adorned with diamonds, emeralds, and rubies, but two trunks and humble and hard heavy logs. To Christ he is not worn on the chest, nor it is to engage in mud walls by way of ornament, but is carried within the heart to be our Lord and illuminate the path of love, the straight and narrow path leading to light. Christ did not humble himself before the pomps and vanities of the world and overcame his knees before Caiaphas. We hope that our spiritualists of Colombia are not alarmed, whether Rosicrucians, Buddhists, spiritualists, theosophists, etc., because the Gnostics do not accept materials, classrooms or schools, or liminal, or lodges, or temples of brick, cement or mud, or charge fees or dictate correspondence courses to AMORC California style as a temple, because we have the Alma Cathedral where love officiating as a priest. Even Weor not profane signs his name precisely because they want money from anyone, nor desires titles or honors or entertainment from any species. Classroom materials are formed because he knows that in the classroom is defeat, gossip, deception and thread. He prepares through this book the disciple to become proficient in the astral. Unconsciously bring memories, attend the Holy Gnostic Church and learn in minutes which could hardly understand in years through his reason and memory in the physical plane. If this is so, why classrooms? What fees? Why law donors? He too, sincere and worthy, find the path. Your desire will become reality. On April 27, 1950 it was demoted by the Venerable White Lodge and in the presence of the Solar Logos, Mr. Israel R. Rojas. Precisely because he is a fructuous, capitalizing in teachings that he entrusted to receive dues and donations, having mercantilist classrooms. All this resulted his expulsion from the White Lodge ceremony held on the evening of May 6, 1950 in presence of the Sacred Court. With the approval of all fellowship, no degrades is self who degrades. Their movement today does not have the support of the Venerable White Lodge. To spread the divine light and knowledge must not collect money. He is not to put at public auction, gentlemen marketers' souls, because the punishment will be your harvest. All masters of those cages have to do an inventory to know the moral progress and spiritual of its adherents affiliates. The liberal Catholic Church is the work of theosophy. It say mass, pray. They marry, baptize, and communicants, something like the Roman, but very poorly imitated, lax Latin, which is the language mantra of Castilian language, so that it is neither Catholic nor liberal. Spiritualism leads to madness and degeneration. The medium is a passive, easy prey lower entities that teem in the lower astral vibrations. Mediumship discerns and listeners are just witnessing a phenomenon, a show. What does it serve a person to move a table, a light bulb, skipping any object? Will it be done with this better than it is? Theosophy goes against human personality. Personality is the body of divinity, the channel through which life flows, Dressinimo, the eternal God. The impersonal man returns a negative entity. A toy circumstances. What is needed, Theosophists, brothers? It is clean and purify the personality, so she is the living expression of divinity, for which is expressed through the form. Characterless man is a spineless being without courage, without value. It leads to little eunuch. The Catholic Church was in its infancy Gnos Catholic. But then there was a separation of Gnosticism Gnostics because all sacraments administered free of charge. Its members' assets then were persecuted and exterminated in the physical world. Now we go again to spread his teachings. Rome then called love when Peter founded the Gnostic Catholic Church, but eventually was reversed the name of the city and also the reasons for the church. The Gnostics were tortured and persecuted but not liquidated. The Church Gnostic because it is directed by Christ. of Protestant brothers, Baptists, Adventists, Presbyterians, etc. Tell them it is not enough be Puritans, study the deep mysteries of sex and practice the scientific chastity. The truth is not in the dead letter, is to be found in what it contains, what it implies. To read the Bible and get the knowledge that it contains, unravel its content must be initiated. This sublime book is very holy, contains great revelations, and it cannot be understood without studying occult science, because she is a gem of science hidden. The initiate is an officiating priest in the cathedral of the soul residing there, deep inside your own heart. The current childhood education leads to false mirror of intellectualism, damaging since childhood best mental faculties. It makes negative for divine perception, hardens them the brain and heart, and imprisons more and more his own divinity. The Luciferian intellect, that is, gives life to Satan within us, the inner beast, and clouding our divinity, the god Prometheus, chaining increasingly terrible rock of matter. Thus Christ, he did not seek intellectuals to teach their doctrine, but humble fishermen and peasants who had damaged his brain with the follies of intellect. Today's teens get dirty water to take morning. The child instinctively, intuitively, loves the game, music, singing, free sunlight, their parents, siblings, peers, and as food, fruits, grains, water and outdoors, but this natural inclination of the child will soon be controlled by the false education, materialistic, then as rudderless sailboat sails, fearful, indecisive, in the depths of his infinity, strongly holding on to the tables of his boat, screaming from there, every man for himself, misses the love of the game, their parents, their peers, their God, and without faith and all that accumulated as consequence of their false education, indifferent shakes the heavy burden in the ocean of his incomprehension. For others, like him, loaded again. Life as well is bitter with who cannot pass through it. To return the man to recover his lost powers is essential for the future education, covering these three essential points: constructive play, sadhana, meditation, and simple art or craft. Through constructive play teach letters, numbers, singing, and love God and his fellow man, all this way to play. Through healthy teach meditation to seek divine wisdom in the great cosmic book of mind universal. Through inner meditation, and through the simple art, a trade according to their skills. To be distracted, serve their fellow men and help improve conditions. Each one grant a piece of land suitable for cultivation, and it establishes its shelter and get the support of his people. Many think this is back to primitive life, but they will answer you that the end is just the beginning, but the experience of the cycle. Besides, the pain, as many evens, death, the evens. The education of women has to be different from the male, because women physically brain weighs 2 ounces less than the man, tested by official science. If this is physically what will not be in the mental body, which cannot realize that until yesterday materialistic but did not know beetle up, until now are realizing that matter is condensed energy. They are no changing materialistic to energists, but still hear us talk, still dislike, although the side of nuclear energy as they approach the spiritualism. The education they are giving the man, similar to the girls, was solely for the purpose of making it suitable for work and gain financially, putting it to work to produce as any man. The woman born for love, for music, for singing, for art, and for eternal with men, authentic representation of the great Mother Nature. You are damaging your criminal nature in form, and therefore seize every moment that many schoolgirls are being victims of nervous disorders, brain, epilepsy, hysteria, neurasthenia, melancholy. untraceable diseases and many other evils that leads to dementia. All this has been done with the deliberate purpose of exploiting women. This is as infamous as trafficking white. A woman, so there is that cultivars its noblest feelings, awaken the sacred fire of love and prepare for the sublime greatness of motherhood. The biblical judgment is clear when he said, "You will work with the sweat of your brow to support your wife and your sons," and to the woman, "You raise your children with pain." Jehovah did not say he had to hold his theories intellectual's head to the woman, or he had to work. The woman is only made for the sublime priesthood of love. The man must educate the will, the woman's imagination, because power is in the union of will with the imagination and vibrant harmony.
These two poles are the foundation of a divine humanity. Education today has made astute and superficial women and those living comfortably proud and conceited. Women today do not admire the man but the position it occupies in the social conglomerate. The woman for man is the path that leads to his own divinity, hence many of while they live the early years of his youth, everything is love, music, joy, celebration, because await the arrival of his love, flowers in them that divine region of his soul, and be inebriated, delivered to false love, with love, passionate man. After the passion and unbridled pleasure comes the fatigue, boredom, dissatisfaction is the harvest of his whole being. There is no flattery achieved material out of its nonconformity, and between her the blandishments conk his surrounding. For behaves more indifferent who love destroyed by a divine law that underlies the recondite of his heart. The classroom of the Gnostic is daily life. Spiritualists are classroom while they are within them. Outside they look like any other mortal, something like what they do ladies when inside and outside mass. Every act of our daily lives must confirm the triumph of spirit. Initiation is not a matter of pose. Initiation is life itself. There is done the triumph of spirit over matter. It is very comfortable and productive, the method adopted by MORC California American Gold with $1.75. Initiations are earned according to the possibilities of interested. These teachings are based on the dark mysteries of Atlantis. The Atlantean continent submerged perished due to a series of cataclysms caused by volcanic eruptions. Black magic came to reign on the continent and so perished. One of the highest peaks chain of islands that form the Azores and belongs to the missing continent is located a dark temple. Astral, this mountain is known as El Pico. In the time came to that dark monastery withdrawn by a day, 7 days, and mostly was ascending the mountain. Every day involved a 7th day, and came to the altar of Mathura, where he worshipped the Lord of Darkness called Sawarpa, hence the lost word of the Rosicrucians AMORC, which pronounced thus, Mazra. Atlanteans, and poetically they were called sons of the fog, because the earth's atmosphere was then in the fog, and the myth of the Nibelungen calls children of the mist. Of this darkness sanctuary was transplanted to North America through AMORC rituals and teachings pompously now sold in luxury and suggestive books. Its laboratories have served to life to numerous inventions that cause death and desolation. The guardian of the threshold, which is the root our animal itself. The white magician touch him, beat him to have dominion over the meat, and then embellishes through chastity and love so that it becomes like a child or a beautiful child and can enter the kingdom of heaven. The black magician worships and calls him guardian of consciousness and abases its power when it becomes a hideous monster. He, white magician, bases his power on his innermost and worships as his lord. We want to make an essential clarification regarding the flying saucers, which it is spoken in this book as presumably cause enormous curiosity among readers, reporting that our airships in the form of spheres from other planets and their crew will be the new instructors of Aquarius. Our planet is that these invasions, and it has happened many times in the life of our planet. So these invasions are ancient and they were accustomed to our antediluvian ancestors. Age Aquarius will be a bright era for our planet, and new instructors come to us in flesh and bone. We do not accept arguments, or we are interested in the opinion of those who do not share these teachings. Yes, Christ commanded us as the patriarch of the Holy Gnostic Church. So everyone will have to borrow on honey or gall to still his heart. This book was dictated by the masters of the White Brotherhood to enlighten preparations for those not pulled with the world's evil. This book is for the humble and virtuosos, capable of living for a Christian, for those who have craving for light and truth. The worst enemies of this work will be our same spiritualist brothers who have vested interests and to defend its business and its position avatars. Which brood of vipers they rise and unite for attack. We know that Christ was not crucified, but the materialist spiritualists of his time, the synagogue's rabbis, priests of the tribe of Levi. Caiaphas, 5 high priest, asked Pilate, shouted, "Crucifixia, crucifixia, crucifixia." Gargacuicen, Julio Medina v. Prologue. This undeserved honor that has given me my very dear freighter and guiding crowds, even Weor, which neither simple, no worldly ambitions. All love wherever he is I touched. Sacrifice is their main spiritual nourishment, and his immense love for his God intimately they stand out in the crowds as a staunch devotee who wants to serve mankind and give his life for it. If I had the immense joy to take him to sacrifice. Even Weor, its hidden name, means will of God in occult science. This name belongs the great universal word, beyond the diversity of languages. With this name appears signing this document, and modestly said that his current name is just an incident and it does not include your name. Born in Bogota, Colombia on March 6, 1917, the son of an aristocratic family. He was educated in cloisters of the College of St. Bartholomew in Bogota, led by Jesuit priests. Your name staff never uses that, says only interested in his eternal name. Live detached from their carnal family. He broke with them because they did not conform to the dictates of his heart, and from then he devoted himself to a rather nomadic life, unspeakably humble but full of tenderness. It has a heart that is all goodness, rather it is like a child. At 12 years old he left the Catholic college, became disillusioned because of religion, and the search for truth went through all class. It was spiritualist, and 2 years later was made. When he was only 16 he became disillusioned spiritualism, then he went in theosophy and also left disappointed there. He continued his thirst knowledge, and he sought to freighter Rosicrucians, and also left the classroom to work in Bogota, disillusioned so many theories it was tired of many scoldings, fees and splints, chose to study himself, and it did not lose a single moment of his life until he came the day he could say as Goethe, "I've rediscovered myself." He realized Phul, who had been an Egyptian hierophant at the time of the dynasty of King Chephren, and awoke then on the altar of initiation with self. That is the beginning of his life of sacrifice for the humanity. This work he entitled The Perfect Marriage, or The Gateway to Initiation, is to read it carefully, without prejudice. rather putting on neutral ground and try to be more accurate in any assessment, experiencing detail by detail and turning the body in real laboratory. Most spiritualists have heard so many beauties of the awakening of consciousness and path leading to initiation. These two conditions reaches in helpless with all its forces, but usually becomes longing disappointment that teaching is expected fizzles as vanity. However, reading this book is fully aware that the reader wake up to be aware in the astral, bringing the memory of what they have learned, and Bastissimo teaches in that field that is out of the long-distance relationship and interested by key that provides this work. He points out the path that leads to initiation in simple way and disconcerting. It goes from Genesis to Revelation to squahando symbolisms with wise and clear words. Leads to avid disciple of light to the vast source of knowledge to start on the path of light, where it will become adept divine rabbi of Galilee and in possession of the road to six eternal Father. Through the purest Christianity, really learned and understood only with the wonderful power of our own experience, the lived reality, the fact executed by ourselves. So deny what know is puerile and insipid. So my dear reader, when doubts torment you regarding what this book teaches, I invite you to evidences, to make on your own being that experience, run it yourself. But do not make the folly of denying what valley and the others you have reported, because those are not yours but others' experiences, and not gossiping as it belongs. The ideas of others are like dresses made for other bodies. All teaching should be evidenced in the wonderful countryside of our own experience, and so do ours. Almost all prologues are saturated with praise for both the author and his work. I understand praise, nor that this work writes tolerated. Nor can I criticize what is beyond my comprehension and my accomplishments. Therefore entirely I left to each reader to according to their understanding and their accomplishments deem or despise the knowledge that this work lacks. I limit myself only to present the personality of a Weor, no glitz or vanities, but tersely as he is, a big heart, fervent lover of humanity. In addition, rebel all splendid isms and intellectualities, and arrogant with the powerful and magnates. This work is opening the new era of Aquarius, which begins exactly on February 4th of 1962 at 2 in the afternoon. Starting with an eclipse of the sun and moon, that moment will be critical to the planet Earth, but will not have catastrophic consequences. The Earth-touch impasse between large planetary masses scattered in space. The advertising of this work was discussed in the Gnostic Church, and our brother who witnessed the scene could see and bring the exact memory. It is nothing less than the clarity of this work. She lifts the veil of the great initiatory secrets, and the Venerable Master Kautumi K.H. said that the work should be veiled, but the Venerable Master Moria Master Strength nodded on how it was written and said, "This is how the need there." Many understand the value of this revelation. Others scoff, but this clarification should be as it has the backing of the Great White Lodge. The first edition was done without sheets, engravings, in short, unadorned. Because the White Lodge it was a great desire to be edited, and ordered deadline barely gave time indispensable for printing arrangements. So, dear reader, this work will be the foundation of the new culture. It is nothing less than the return of humanity to the inner worlds. So far very few they are those who follow the intimo path of its own inner power, which underlie all the powers and all knowledge. The man has given rather to search with your external senses, to perceive what coming from outside and set as support or your point of comparison, much or little ignorance. Uses its internal fund, or if we could say to the bag where he keeps his few experiences, and compares with it, and trying to find the truth, not realizing that the senses do not show the same object. but an image of it, as we see through a mirror, not as it shows the object but an image of it, and the things we see through our senses external have the same colors of our own personality. Because man sees things according to the virtue or vice of his heart. Virtue is internal harvest, exalts the man and it sets out to great achievements. Vice is flattery of the senses, and the man in the middle XX century has given free rein to his senses, bringing resulting error, despair, disgust and disappointment. And that has made the woman her eternal companion, the most beautiful creature in the field of matter. Does love made way, the heart within our hands? He has taken as a site of pleasure. He has prostituted the only way towards lifting august heights of love and understanding. 7. The man lives materialistic, confused and wrong without realizing the damage caused by their mistake. Hence more respectful of the bridesmaid dress than the lady herself, because she knows that the dress has a value, cost, and represents a more or less valuable expenditure in the field of vested interests, and according to their value and respect it. But if the lady present it naked, without one dress, it immediately feels entitled to disrespect. Appetizing, passionate, it is insignificant to the immense power of his Satan that subjugates and debases. To end this prologue, nothing more apparent than the famous words of chief magician in his work Powers or Deifies the book, which is a song to the woman. The woman is the divine art does not imitate, but explains the divinity with symbols. Woman is the highest beauty of God, love the manifest desire kills. The woman is the most beautiful thought of the Absolute, to be grasped by intelligence and not seen by the eyes. Quote, the woman is the law of the beauty, and the law must be obeyed and not violated. The woman is the religion of nature, whose morality should be felt and not babble with words. God is a mysterious woman's word and its meaning. Man as brain, which dynamo manufactures strength. Woman as heart produces love. Force kills, love resurrects. To return to God in a clear path of peace, saving the feverish race, is the only woman path.